Today I wanted to take a look at 1998's What Dreams May Come. I had always avoided this film because I had always been told that it was a very depressing or very sad movie, and at times it really can be a very difficult movie to watch. It's definitely not a stroll in the park type film, but it is a very good film. It's very beautiful visually, but it definitely does have its heavy and deep moments which seem to just kind of weigh you down or make you feel a bit of sadness. But all in all, it really is a very great film. The introduction to the film itself is actually very cute, where we are actually introduced to Robin Williams' character, Chris Nielsen, and we see how he and his wife, or the woman who later becomes his wife, meet each other. Is that they're just kind of out boating. She bumps into him and they flirt a little, and then she just kind of goes off on her way, and I guess it's the mast that comes around and bumps her in the head. And it's just kind of very realistic of those types of situations where you take a liking to someone, you're temporarily distracted, and you forget your surroundings. So in this situation, she kind of got a bop on the head, which was actually kind of funny and very cute. Like I said, it's an adorable moment, and it's a very good introduction to the film. You definitely see how deep their connection is to one another. You see how much they like each other, and throughout the film, we never lose that. We're always reminded of how much they care for each other, how deeply connected they are to one another, even after Chris Nielsen's character passes away. We see that through her painting emotionally, she's still somehow able to connect to him in the afterlife, even though she may not necessarily be aware of it, but he is still very much connected to her as she is to him. And for a time, he kind of does stick around in our realm, I guess you could say, just looking after his wife, wanting to spend time with her. He realizes that his presence is affecting her, which is why he eventually decides to cross over. And of course, his character dies just via vehicle accident. Some years previously, their children also passed away in a vehicle accident. So we have the wife who is basically left alone to deal with all of this grief. She eventually takes her life. The wife, who is actually very well played by Annabella Sciorra, and as most Christian belief has it, she commits suicide, so she winds up in hell. Chris's character, or rather her husband Chris, is not able to bear the thought of her being in hell and suffering on her own, so he makes his way to hell, not only just to see her, but in a sense save her, take her out of there. And she basically really has created her own mental hell. And in some of those scenes we do get flashbacks of their life, but it's just kind of hard to see a person that's been pulled apart emotionally in that way, that they're just in their own emotional dungeon. At some point, Chris is warned that he has to leave. He cannot stay there because it is unsafe for him to remain, and he makes the decision that even though she may not be in her right mind, he cannot bear the thought of leaving her alone, and he wants to be with his wife, so he stays behind. And I think it's that act of love that just kind of wakes her up or helps her deal with her own grief or regret, that she's able to let that go. And eventually she does make her way to heaven. She sees her children, she gets to spend time with her husband, and it's a very lovely resolution. Chris even brings up the potential thought of returning to the land of the living, with the belief that, of course, they're so deeply connected to each other that even in the next life they have the potential to find one another. And I guess to some degree that's a very universal thought, the idea that if you have a soulmate and you're meant to be with someone, you will always find that person, which like I said, it's a very lovely thought. Who knows if something like that actually exists, but it's always nice to have something like that to believe in, and just the fact that he cares about her so much. But there's just so much emotional turmoil at points within the film where it really is difficult to watch, and I am basically not a crier. I'm not a person who cries in movies, but this movie really gave me a hard time at some points. But it really is a good movie. You do have some lighter points, but to a degree, even some of the happier moments seem a bit sad and deep. But I think it's an accurate depiction of someone's lifetime. Life is not always peaches, it's not always cherry, so you have the high points as well as the low points, and it accurately seems to depict that, which I think is excellent storytelling. The film is based off of a novel. I've honestly never read the book, and truth be told, if I had so much trouble watching the movie, I don't think I could get through that book. I would be curious to see how well written it is. Obviously, you cannot get an excellent film, or at least an excellent inspiration for the film, without the novel. I know it is possible to have bad films made from excellent books and vice versa, but if the film, in my opinion, if the film was this powerful and this compelling, I don't think I could survive the book. And I don't mean that in a rude way, I honestly don't, but it really is, by turns, very difficult material, very difficult subject matter, but definitely a very beautiful and worthwhile film if you can take the emotional weight that comes with it. It's extremely well played. Everyone does an excellent job, and if you haven't seen it, if you're not easily emotionally distressed, then I would say by all means take a look at it. If you are a sensitive person, you may want to avoid this film, but very excellent, beautiful storytelling as well as cinematography. But that is all I have for you guys today, and I will talk to you later.